Imagine taking a 600 horsepower race car, right? You strap on a set of fresh, theoretically sticky tires, dump the clutch, and you're basically asking a track surface with the abrasive qualities of ancient sun-baked asphalt to just hold it.
Yeah, which is a massive ask.
Right. You expect physics to work. You expect that forward bite. But at a place like Legacy Atlanta, that physics equation just shatters the moment the green flag drops.
Oh, absolutely.
You aren't launching a car. You are managing a controlled slide from a standstill.
Yeah, I mean, the friction coefficients on a surface like that are completely unforgiving. You're searching for mechanical grip in a landscape that actively wants to tear the rubber right off the wheel.
It's brutal.
It really is. The margin between a perfect launch and a catastrophic loss of traction is, it's measured in fractions of a millimeter of throttle travel.
Welcome to the deep dive. We have a massive one for you today. Our mission is to dissect the absolute chaos that was round 3 of the OzOvals Championship at the Echo Park Speedway, specifically the notoriously brutal Legacy layout.
The tire eater itself.
Exactly. And as someone who already understands the dark arts of racing, you know we aren't going to bog you down with the basics here. We are using the official race broadcast transcript and diving deep into the OzOval Series standings data to reconstruct this race.
Yeah, and there is a lot to reconstruct.
So much. We're going to break down how early stage cautions dictated the entire strategic flow of the race, analyze those brutal late race impacts that completely scrambled the final standings, and detail how these results mathematically shifted the championship war between Craig Roffey and Ruben Phelps.
It's a huge points shift, for sure.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start right at the green flag because the tone for the entire event was basically set before the field even made it to turn 1.
Yeah, the initial launch is where the fundamental character of Legacy Atlanta really showed its teeth.
Right.
Because the pavement there doesn't just wear tires down gently over time. It chemically and physically degrades them. So when the reigning champ, Ruben Phelps, who was sitting on the pole, when he went to throttle up, he didn't just get a little loose.
No, it was bad.
He suffered immediate massive wheel spin.
Yeah, I was watching the onboard data from that exact moment, and the RPM spiked while his forward velocity basically flatlined.
Just burning up the rears immediately.
Exactly. And Phelps is a veteran. He knows this track. I have to wonder if maybe the cooler track temperatures at the start fooled him into thinking he had more initial bite than he actually did.
That's highly likely.
Because in a pack stacked that tight, one driver's thermal shock to the rear tires becomes everyone else's absolute emergency. Craig Roffey, the championship leader, was starting right behind him.
And he had absolutely nowhere to go.
Nowhere. Roffey had to check up violently just to avoid putting his nose entirely through Phelps's gearbox, and he ended up tagging him anyway.
And that initial contact, it triggers an instantaneous chain reaction. When the front row stalls out like that, the kinetic energy of the entire field behind them compresses.
Just a giant bottleneck.
Right. It's a spatial problem. You have 30 cars accelerating, and suddenly the 2 cars at the apex of the wedge decelerate. The resulting pileup collected Nicholas Welsh, Colin Bennett, and Nigel Payton, which brought out the very first caution before the race even established a rhythm.
And the carnage didn't stop there. Almost immediately after the restart, we saw another quick caution involving Dan Blinko, David Simmons, and Wesley Fuge.
Yeah, that Simmons hit was nasty.
No, it was awful. Simmons took such a heavy hit that his right rear suspension geometry was completely shattered. His wheel was pointing inward at like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, I had to take a 2 for that one.
He did. But these back-to-back yellows completely scrambled the momentum of the first stage. And this is where Jacob Dean inherits the lead.
Right, which puts him in a really tricky spot.
Exactly. Dean finds himself in clean air, and instead of pacing himself on a track that notoriously eats tires, he decides to just run flat out.
Yeah, just hammer down.
Hammer down. He is pushing the car, leaning heavily on the right front tire, early in a 30-lap stage. I look at a decision like that, and I have to ask, is pushing early in a stage a calculated risk to build a gap, or is it just a fundamental lack of discipline from a driver who got seduced by the clean air?
What's fascinating here is how early cautions completely rewrite the psychology of a stint. If the race goes green from the drop, the necessity of tire saving is obvious.
Right, because everyone is pacing themselves.
Exactly. The degradation is linear. But cautions bunch the field up. They give the tires a moment to set some heat, creating this temporary illusion of grip.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it tempts drivers into short-term aggression. Jacob Dean likely calculated that if he could break the draft and build a 3-second gap in clean air, He could afford to lose 2 seconds of pace at the end of the stage and still survive.
But that's a dangerous game at Legacy.
It's a fatally flawed logic there, because at Legacy Atlanta, tire fall-off is not a gentle slope, it is a thermal cliff.
And he drove right off it. I mean, the broadcast showed his lap times dropping by over 1.5 seconds within a handful of laps.
It was painful to watch.
It really was. Dean became a rolling roadblock in the closing laps of that first stage. You could physically see his car washing up the track in the corners.
Yeah, understeering like crazy.
He was dialing in more and more steering angle just to hold a line, which of course only blisters the contact patch even further. He was completely defenseless.
A sitting duck.
Right. Ruben Phelps and Adam Malone, who had been managing their equipment behind him, just swallowed him up. Phelps, who caused the opening lap chaos with his wheel spin, ironically played the most patient game during the run and ultimately took the Stage 1 win.
Yeah, Phelps understood the friction coefficient there. He let Dean put the destructive heat cycles into his tires.
Well, he just bided his time.
Exactly. When you push early on a green track, you are effectively trading your late-stage defense for early-stage track position. Phelps conserved his lateral grip, meaning when he caught Dean, he had the traction to cut under him off the corner while Dean was just busy fighting the wall.
Because the entire field just watched Jacob Dean's tires disintegrate in real time, the entire complexion of the race mutated. Nobody wanted to be the hare anymore.
No one wants to lead that train.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So Stage 2 transformed from a sprint into this exercise in extreme high-speed self-preservation. It started to mirror the tense, draft-heavy pack racing we usually associate with the new Atlanta configuration.
Yeah, it was wild to see that dynamic shift so quickly.
We saw drivers voluntarily running side by side, stacking up 3 wide, not to pass, but simply to maintain the draft and reduce the aero load on their own cars.
Right, because leading early in a stage like that becomes a penalty.
You're just doing all the work.
Exactly. The leader is the one punching the hole in the air, using more fuel and scrubbing more tire just to maintain the pace. The optimal strategy shifts to sitting in the slipstream, letting the high-pressure air watch over your car, and saving that right front tire for a 5-lap sprint at the end.
Which is terrifying, honestly.
It requires an immense amount of trust in the drivers around you.
Trust that was severely tested, I might add. We saw a heart-stopping moment early in the stage when Craig Roffey got loose on a restart.
Oh, that was close.
So close. The car snapped sideways. He was completely out of shape, perpendicular to the racing line at 160 miles per hour.
Just a passenger at that point.
Basically. But Kim made a miraculous save. But he only pulled it off because Peter Madsen, who was barreling down on him, processed the geometry of the slide instantly and backed off, giving Kim the spatial margin to gather the car back up.
And that right there is the essence of veteran racecraft. Madsen recognized that forcing the issue there would result in a massive T-bone collision, destroying both cars. Backing out of the throttle in a pack race means losing 3 or 4 positions instantly.
Which hurts.
It hurts, but keeping a clean car is the only metric that matters in Stage 2, because the margin for error in a pack that tight is effectively 0.
The broadcast confirmed that zero margin reality shortly after, when a massive wreck triggered by that very pack density collected Gary Wellman, Troy Davidson, Tony Roffey, and a few others.
Yeah, it was inevitable.
It really was.
Yeah.
But I want to pivot to the climax of Stage 2, because the strategy here completely baffles me.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, Matty Raymond from the SRM team was the main protagonist. He had an early excursion through the grass, fell way behind, and methodically sliced his way back to the front.
A great recovery drive.
Incredible drive. He was battling Phelps and Craig Roffey for the stage win. But then on the final lap, Caleb O'Connor, a driver who'd been lurking way in the back, totally off the broadcast radar for like 25 laps, suddenly comes charging through the pack.
Out of nowhere.
Literally nowhere. He hooks up with Raymond, pushes him past both Phelps and Roffey, and steals a top finish for himself while Raymond takes the stage win.
Yeah, it was a brilliant move.
But I struggle to see how O'Connor planned that. I want to chalk that up to dumb luck with the draft, just catching the right lane at the right time.
Yeah.
Like, was he actually manipulating the air on purpose?
Well, this raises an important question about the complex mechanics of the side draft. Lurking at the back is a highly calculated, albeit, nerve-wracking strategy.
Right.
O'Connor wasn't just riding around. He was managing his tire temperatures meticulously. He recognized that Phelps, Roffey, and Raymond were going to run side by side.
Which slows them down.
Exactly. When cars run side by side at high speeds, they create a massive, unaerodynamic profile. They're essentially dragging a parachute of turbulent air, which slows them down and forces them to use more tire to maintain speed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so O'Connor saved his rubber, giving him maximum grip for the final lap. When he made his move, he used the air as a physical wedge. He placed his car in the precise aerodynamic sweet spot off the leader's rear quarter panels, stalling their momentum while giving Raymond the kinetic push needed to clear them.
That is insane.
It requires a deep understanding of fluid dynamics and timing. It wasn't luck.
That is wild, using the aerodynamic disadvantage of the race leaders against them to slingshot past.
Brilliant racecraft.
Truly. But as stage 2 is this high IQ chess match of fluid dynamics and preservation, the final 55-lap stage devolved into a bare-knuckle brawl.
Oh, total chaos.
At the stage points banked, desperation just took over. The stint was longer, which introduced green flag pit stops and massive divergence in tire lifespans, breeding total chaos.
The longer the stint, the more strategy fragments. We have cars on varying tire ages trying to occupy the same physical space on the track, and their cornering speeds are radically different.
Right, and Jake Atkinson's strategy call perfectly illustrated that danger. Atkinson opted to stay out on old tires during a caution while the leaders pitted.
Which is always a huge gamble.
Huge gamble. The broadcast booth practically gasped, noting that track position means nothing at Atlanta if you don't have the mechanical grip to defend it.
And he didn't.
He really didn't. Atkinson spun almost immediately on the restart. He snapped loose, collected Jacob Dean, Matty Raymond, and Kim Roffey, completely destroying their races.
Atkinson essentially became a rolling chicane there. When you have old tires, your braking points are significantly earlier, and your acceleration vectors are, they're completely compromised.
You just can't put the power down.
Exactly. You simply cannot hold the bottom lane under pressure. The cars behind him, on fresh rubber, were carrying significantly more mid-corner speed, so when Atkinson's rear tires gave up, the trailing pack had nowhere to go.
Right into him.
Yeah. It highlights the brutal penalty of prioritizing track position over mechanical grip on a highly abrasive surface.
And as the laps wound down, the intensity visibly spiked. Gary Wellman, Craig Roffey, and Ruben Phelps found themselves locked in a three-wide battle for the lead. The late race contact escalated dramatically here.
Yeah, they were not giving an inch.
Not a single inch. Phelps and Roffey, who are fighting for the overarching championship, started trading paint. They were leaning on each other hard. And poor Gary Wellman, who had driven a phenomenal recovery race to get into that position, was on the outside.
Caught in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly. He got squeezed directly into the concrete wall. It ruined his car and derailed a guaranteed podium finish.
It's an accordion effect, but laterally. When the two inside cars start manipulating each other's side force, the space compresses.
It just disappears.
Right. Roffey is trying to pinch Phelps down. Phelps is fighting the tracks, banking to stay off the apron, and the car on the outside, Wellman in this case, runs out of real estate. Wellman didn't do anything wrong. He was simply the collateral damage of a championship war happening on his left side.
The collateral damage continued just moments later, too. Sean Signori had driven a beautiful, stealthy race and was genuinely threatening for the lead.
He was having a great run.
He was. But Peter Madsen misjudged a bump draft in the closing laps. Madsen tagged Signori's rear bumper slightly off-center. Signori's car snapped violently into the wall, totally destroyed. The broadcast literally said he got sent to the shadow realm.
Yeah, the geometry of a bump draft is incredibly delicate.
I can imagine.
If the trailing car makes contact even an inch off the center line of the leading car's bumper, you aren't pushing them forward, you are applying rotational force to their rear axle.
Oh, man.
And at 180 miles per hour, that slight rotational force breaks the rear tire's traction instantly. Signora executed a flawless strategy all day, but in pack racing, your destiny is heavily dictated by the spatial awareness of the driver 3 inches off your bumper.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We reach the final lap. The chaos has cleared out everyone except the two championship heavyweights, Craig Roffey and Ruben Phelps.
The main event.
The main event. They are clear of the pack, battling for the win. Coming off turn 4, headed to the checkered flag, they abandon all pretense of clean racing. They are physically dooring each other.
Just slamming into each other.
Trading heavy paint, leaning on each other all the way to the line. Phelps narrowly takes the victory, his first win of the season, while Adam Malone sneaks through the madness to finish third. I look at that final corner, Phelps and Roffey using each other's guardrails, And I have to ask, where is the line between aggressive, hard-nosed defense and a red miss penalty? How do the stewards even legislate that edge?
Well, in the closing 500 yards of a race, the unwritten rules of giving racing room largely evaporate.
They just go out the window.
Pretty much. Earlier in the race, you yield the corner to preserve the car. On the final lap, you use the car as a tool for leverage. The stewards understand that if two drivers are side by side coming to the checkered, neither is going to concede the optimal line. As long as the driver isn't intentionally hooking the opponent's right rear quarter panel to induce a PIT maneuver, essentially lateral contact is viewed as hard racing. Phelps refused to yield the bottom, Roffey tried to use his door to scrub Phelps's momentum, and they leaned on each other's side force to stay straight. It's aggressive, but entirely expected when a trophy is in sight.
So what does this all mean for the larger OzOvals series? Because the trophy is only half the story here. I'm looking at the updated standings data, and the final lap at Atlanta completely altered the championship math.
It really did.
Ruben Phelps takes his first win of the season. Combined with his Stage 1 win, he banked a massive points haul. He jumps up one spot in the standings to second place overall, sitting at 141 points, with 39 of those being stage points.
Notice the composition of those points, though. The race win provides the headline, but the sheer volume of his haul is heavily subsidized by winning Stage 1.
And that data point perfectly exposes Craig Roffey's masterclass. Roffey finished second in the race after getting doored to the line. He lost the physical battle at Atlanta. Yet, Roffey remains the championship leader with a dominant 25-point gap over Phelps.
It's incredible.
Roffey has 166 total points. Why? Because across the season, Roffey has quietly accumulated 52 stage points.
Yeah, 52 stage points is a mathematical revelation. To frame that for the listener, a standard race win awards a set amount of points. Roffey has effectively engineered an invisible phantom race victory purely through stage performance.
That's wild.
He doesn't need to win the final sprint if he continually dominates laps 30 and 70.
He has weaponized the stage format.
Right.
And we have to look at the other movers in the standings, too. Gary Wellman's late race wall contact was devastating. He dropped a spot down to third overall, sitting at 131 points.
A tough break for him.
Yeah, really tough. Then you have Adam Malone. Malone drove like a ghost all night. He avoided the Atkinson spin. He avoided the three-wide squeeze. He avoided the Signori wreck.
Just navigating the minefield?
Exactly. He quietly banked a third-place finish, which catapulted him 2 spots up the standings to 5th place with 118 points. To me, this points table is absolute proof that modern oval racing is no longer about driving the fastest. It's an algorithmic game of resource management. Roffey mathematically beat Phelps by optimizing for intermediate points rather than final lap glory.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it exposes the dichotomy of driving styles required to win a modern championship.
How so?
Well, Ruben Phelps drives for the trophy. He is a spectacular, aggressive talent who takes massive risks to cross the line first. Craig Roffey is driving like an actuary.
Crunching the numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He is constantly calculating the risk-to-reward ratio of every position on the track at any given lap. Roffey accepted finishing second because fighting Phelps to the death on the final corner risked a crash that would cost him the 52-point foundation he had spent weeks building.
And Malone is the dark horse who understands that exact same math. While the heavyweights are tearing their cars to pieces, Malone is proving that extreme survival pays immense dividends.
Oh, for sure.
If Roffey or Phelps miscalculate their aggression in the coming weeks, Malone is mathematically positioned to strike.
Survival in a high-attrition series is an offensive strategy, not just a defensive one. Malone knows you can't accumulate points from the garage area.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you listening today. Whether you are turning laps in a simulator yourself, managing a complex, high-stakes project at work, or just trying to navigate a chaotic week, Atlanta proves that pacing your output is the only way to survive a hostile environment.
A great lesson.
Jacob Dean blew all his resources early in clean air and was defenseless when the environment changed. Caleb O'Connor lurked in the background, saved his resources, and weaponized his competitors' drag against them. You cannot execute a high-grip strategy on a low-grip surface. You have to adapt to the friction of the room you're in.
The environment dictates the strategy, always. If you refuse to adapt to the degradation of your tools, the environment will eventually consume you, just like the legacy pavement consumed the field.
And speaking of adapting to the environment, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought.
All right.
During the post-race interviews, Craig Roffey, the current championship leader, sitting on that comfortable 25-point buffer, revealed he won't be racing in the next round in New Hampshire.
Wow.
Yeah, he's using a league rule to take a provisional. Essentially, he is taking a strategic absence week where he still banks a baseline chunk of points without ever getting behind the wheel or risking his car.
That's a huge development.
It is. So with the calculating championship leader completely absent from the track, what happens to the psychology of the grid? Will Ruben Phelps be able to capitalize on the momentum of his door-to-door win to seize the points lead? Or will the sheer absence of his main rival actually throw off his rhythm?
It's going to be fascinating to watch.
Think about it. How much does a driver actually rely on their biggest rival to set the pace? Does the precision of a championship run secretly rely on the pressure provided by your enemies? Something to mull over until next time. Keep your tires warm, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.